Welcome to the Got Trauma Podcast with your hosts, Courtney Kay and Monica Newland.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Got Trauma Podcast. Hello, ladies. How are you today?
Hello.
Good.
We are here.
Full honesty, this is the second recording of today, though. So.
It is. We changed our shirts.
Keeping it real.
Look at us in our wardrobe. I'm going to stop talking today, honest to God. Anyways, yeah, Monica, take it away. Wardrobe.
Yes, so we are several episodes into our series that we're doing, the Chronicles of Childhood Trauma, the 5th episode, featuring B, becoming B. B is becoming a very good friend of ours. We've met through social media. We have done several episodes together and some other collaborations, and we're grateful to have you again today, sharing more of your story and your journey to healing and all of that. I will do a quick introduction. B is a survivor, thriver, and overcomer on her healing journey and sharing her story along the way. She is an author and writer and has been featured in several articles over the years. Thank you so much for joining us and continuing to share your story. Oh, I can hear the thunder.
It's getting crazy out there.
Spooky. Especially in your background. It looks kind of spooky over there.
Oh, I know. It's not supposed to. It's actually very peaceful, but it does look kind of creepy when it's not in full range. But yeah, so just let me make it less creepy here. There we go.
Oh, there we go. Twinkle lights.
You gotta twinkle lights everywhere. So the last episode we kind of ended off B, you were sharing about your battle with anorexia, which I think was incredibly brave to share the way that you did, because it's not easy to talk about the self-harm things that we do unintentionally, because, you know, we're again trying to grasp some kind of control that we just didn't have in our early years. So I know that we've discussed, and we did a Facebook Live that we ended up turning into an episode. And we were talking about some of the domestic violence situations that you unfortunately were in with different partners. And, you know, just kind of curious how, you know, like after the first one, because I can say for myself, I've done the same thing, gone from one to one until one day you're like, whoa, what am I doing here? Like, what for you was that kind of pivotal, like, you know, I don't want to say wake up, but like that epiphany, I guess you could say.
I know that there was a few where, like the first one was really long term, and I was kind of part of the programming was when you marry for life. Didn't really realize what I got myself into until like a year in, and we had moved to a different location. And that's when I realized control, manipulation, something just kind of shifted in the end inside, where I kind of woke up, I guess, and was like, what the hell is wrong with me? And why am I putting up with this? I deserve better. I don't deserve this. And like, I know that some people are like, why didn't you leave? Why did you stay so long? Well, there's so many factors within the abuse itself. You got the trauma bond, you got the threats, you've got the execution of those threats. I think the first go around, I was like, well, I'm done. I'm not going to be abused anymore. I deserve better. And I resigned to, if I'm leaving and he kills me, then I'm leaving and he kills me, because that was the biggest threat throughout the whole relationship, is if you try to leave me, I will kill you. And He didn't. In fact, he didn't even make any attempt on that. He just kind of stalked me for a little while afterward and then just faded away.
Really?
Yeah. It's surprising because I think he wasn't exactly physically abusive, and I know that by my saying that, I've downplayed it. But my first major injury came from him. And then it was like small things that I would easily dismiss, like, giving me a shove or, using his body to prevent me from moving to different areas of the home, or I couldn't get out of bed at night without him questioning, because he would always be holding a part of my body, not in a loving way, to be clear to anyone who hears this, but to know when I've moved so that he can wake up and have control whether I get up and go pee at night. It was just so mentally, emotionally abusive, psychologically abusive, control and manipulation, financial abuse. I had to ask to even buy underwear and socks. It was brutal.
That's
but that would be one thing, that break inside.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to go back for a second and touch on what you just said there, because I think that's a really important point to make to anybody who's listening to this that may be in a domestic violence situation. Like downplaying, like you just described, like
Exactly.
just because somebody doesn't full-fledged, pull back, like cocked, ready to punch you in the face, or does punch you in the face, doesn't mean that there aren't other ways of physically abusing someone or trying to contain them in a physical way that they have no right to do.
Exactly.
Right? So I think that was really important, because there are a lot of people I would never have attributed that. I do now.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, when I go back and I think about the things that I've experienced and I went through, I didn't even realize that interrelationship rape was a thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like those are things that I just thought, oh, this is, we're in a union. This is my body. I guess if I say no and you still want it, then that's okay. So reiterating to people that none of that is okay. And you don't have to be, knocked out cold for the abuse to still be abuse, is more or less what I wanted to circle back to there.
No, that's such a good point. And I'm just actually having like a bit of a realization, because I was in this one relationship that, and I'm just realizing now that would have been a very abusive relationship if it had continued.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the things that he would do is he had a roommate, and if I slept over at his house and I got up and went to the bathroom, I'd come back to a parade of questions and accusations. I'm like, what are you talking about, guy? Like, I just went to the bathroom. Like, what are you doing? And fortunately, that relationship ended. Like, it wasn't a very long relationship, but like, I definitely, now hearing you say that, I'm realizing, wow, that was very toxic, and wow, that could have been a very bad situation for me if I had continued. We broke up for not, I mean, I broke up with him because he was very jealous and like all the rest of the stuff. But I mean, I was young and not really, I'm realizing now, because I had not attributed that to abuse, but that would have 100%, I'm sure, turned into that.
Absolutely. That's why I wanted to circle back to that, just because B always has these lovely little wisps of wisdom. And I like to
appreciate it.
Absolutely.
But you honestly, like, because you said that, like, my brain has a tendency to compartmentalize things, and things just sort of go fading to the background and then they pop up again. I said that he wasn't super physically abusive, but throughout the course of that relationship, I was raped repeatedly. When I was injured, when I was sick, when I was just simply said, no, I'm not interested, he simply took what he wanted. And that is rape. So for clarity's sake, just because you're in an intimate relationship with somebody, if you say no, that no should be respected. Exactly. And they should not try and coerce you, bully you, manipulate you, or take advantage of you while you're sleeping, while you're intoxicated, or anything like that. That is still classified as rape, even if you're in a relationship with that person.
Yep. No means no.
Exactly. So I'm glad you said that, because I'm like, oh, he wasn't that bad, but I mean, he was that bad. He was that bad. Like, fuck.
Well, then it goes back to that trauma shaming point, right? Where you tell yourself, well, it wasn't that bad because, I know this person who experienced this and this and this, and like, it wasn't that bad for me. And it's like, no, it doesn't matter. It still should never have happened. It still created turmoil and trauma in your life, and, very uncomfortable, like the way that you handle things, the way that you feel about things. It's valid. It doesn't have to be catastrophic to be valid.
It is. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think one thing that would be really key and really awesome to do, I'm going to just drop that in here right now, is to go in depth to say these are the various types of emotional abuse you can experience, verbal abuse you can experience, because so much of these abuses that take place are so covert and insidious. If you can see those red flags before you fully submerge yourself in that relationship or in that situation, that education is key. And maybe
do you have those things on hand right now?
I have some, but it would take a bit of digging, so I think that'll have to wait.
No, maybe the next, but yeah, I'm definitely very interested.
Yeah, and I can
maybe we do
pull...
either like an episode or a live, or do something where we sort of highlight those pieces.
I think that would be important, because given the fact that I was in more than one abusive relationship, each one worked differently. There's a lot of similarities, but each one worked differently.
Yep.
And definitely, narcissistic was in there. We talked just briefly on physical abuse. Physical abuse does not have to be them putting their hands on you. It can be the threat of, it can be the posturing, it can be anything that comes towards you that's intimidating and threatening.
Yeah.
I had 2 exes that were notorious ragers in a moving vehicle. Whether they were raging at me or whether they were road raging at somebody else, they took me for the ride. And that is physical abuse. That is threatening my life. They would not pull over when I begged them to pull over and let me out. And they terrorized me. One of them going so far, I don't care if I fucking die, I'm taking you with me.
Wow.
And to this day, I don't like other people driving. I'd rather be the one in control of the vehicle.
Absolutely. I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because I think, we can all relate to sort of subjecting ourselves to this, another level of chaos that, we, in our relationships after we had experienced our childhood, and then, you're taking control of your life, and then we end up putting ourselves in these situations. Why do we do this, guys? Why? I mean, I was in very toxic relationships, and I was very toxic in the relationships too. I definitely played a very significant factor.
Me too.
Even one particularly, I feel like I was probably the person who was on the unhealthiest out of the relationship. But why is it so common for people who have been through this abuse and abandonment, and then why do we seek that out when we try to build these relationships?
There's a lot of contributing factors.
Yep.
If you've got the childhood abuse, you're already pre-programmed to be the fixer, the helper, the healer. Yep. Oftentimes where we don't want to see the red flags, we don't want to acknowledge the red flags. Again, the love bombing and the gaslighting. A lot of these people can be super, super freaking convincing until they have you hook, line, and sinker, and then the masks come off.
Yep.
I remember having a conversation with my foster mom about that exactly, because she called me one night and was really upset, thinking that her and my foster dad, so her and dad, had failed all of us in our upbringing because of everything that we were failing at as adults.
Oh.
And so it was all the therapy and then everything we've done, everybody's, fucking up their lives basically. And I was like, look, all of that stuff we've been through, absolutely. And we still have whatever programming inside us that hamster wheel that spins out of control. And that's one thing I recognized about myself was I can love you enough, I can fix you, I can heal you. I don't deserve any better was another big one. The most violent relationship I was in, where the individual tried to unalive me. The very first time he physically assaulted me, I basically surrendered and go, well, the next guy after him is going to be way worse, so why not just have it all end here? And I gave up. I gave up the fight until the last day when shit hit the fan and it was like everything shifted and I'm like, I'm fucking leaving, I'm done.
Yep.
And then that was one of the relationships. I ended up in another one after that was abusive, covertly and insidiously. Sadly. There was an essay that took place in that relationship. I was assaulted by him in that relationship. That was through bullying and manipulation and coercion that didn't stop all day until I relented and I gave him what he wanted to shut him up. And the shame and the guilt and the way I just felt so filthy after. Filthy after.
Well, it's gross. It's not attractive.
Yeah.
There's nothing attractive about being forced into doing something you do not want to do, only to just have someone, if they've been threatening you, well, if you don't do it, I'll go get it somewhere else. And you're like,
and that's a common one.
I guess, then I will give you what you want. I don't want to, though, so I hope, and then you realize how much it's not about you and your partnership. And, that in itself is really disheartening because you're like, then you don't clearly care about me as a person. If this is all you're concerned with.
Yeah.
Like, it fucking bugs me.
It's one thing that I was going to say too is if you've been raped before and you end up raped again and raped again and raped again, it does not diminish in the effects or the trauma left behind. It actually just makes you feel that much shittier about yourself. And people wonder why I don't like being touched. I mean, it's not just the exchange of energy. It is, I don't like being touched because when I've been touched, it has led to people violating me in ways that I never should have been violated. And then people are like, well, I'm your friend. I should be able to. I'm this. I'm allowed to touch you. I'm like, no, you're fucking not.
No.
I need to give you consent. And even if I gave you consent, if I make the decision that at some point within our friendship or relationship that I don't want you to touch me, you need to respect that. And you need to understand. And in some cases, I've had to explain to people, I love you. You're amazing. You're my best friend. You're this in my world. But if I'm at a point where I don't want to be touched, I need you to respect that until I come out of that phase.
Well, it's got to be your decision.
Trauma response, right?
Yep.
So I'm not rejecting you and I'm not pushing you away. For the people that I love that are in my world, it's like right now, just don't touch me. And then there are others that are in my world where I don't want them fucking touching me.
Yep.
At all.
Yep.
Just takes me back to all of those memories.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
My mom used to do that to me. Like berate me if I was like naked or getting out of the shower, and I would, sometimes like cover myself up quickly, and she'd be like, I can look at it if I want to. I made it.
Right.
Or, she would like poke at me or like, I don't know, make comments and poke at me. And I'd be like, I don't like that. And she'd be like, I can do that if I want to. I made you. That just really reminded me of that. I was like, it's such a fucked thing to say.
It is. It is. And it's violating your boundaries and your personal space. Right?
And it's a very complicated thing. Like, as you're describing this, I can understand how complicated these things are. And I can understand like from both sides, like obviously the person who's gone through it, but from as a friend or a spouse or, a person you're in a relationship, it is very difficult and complicated because, going back to like triggers, that's just one piece of it. Yeah. There's going to be things that trigger you, but also like that psychological piece to all of this is very traumatic and it's very deep. And yeah, just it's a complicated thing. I think that there's definitely a lot more awareness around these things. People are definitely more aware of. So I go to yoga. I'm just going to use this as an example, and they're very aware of personal space. And at first, I found it very odd because they would ask, "Can I approach you? Can I touch you? Can I hug you?"
Right.
And I didn't understand it at first. Like I did, but I didn't. I didn't understand the gravity of why that was so important until like I've worked with them a lot longer, and just that vulnerability and that respect for each other to know that it's not something to take personally.
Yep.
It's not an attack on an individual. If you say, I need some space, that's very much a healthy boundary to set if you think you need it. All of these, any sort of boundary that you're setting for yourself, like it's healthy. So I think that that's a very important lesson. Is that, it's fine to be honest about these things. I mean, not to, you don't need to tell the story or whatever, but
Exactly.
being open and being like, I'm dealing with some stuff. I need some space. Or I teach my kids that a lot too. Like that, taking time for yourself is important, and taking that space for yourself is important, even at a young age, in a healthy way. Those things are, it's good in my opinion.
Yep. Well, I got to the point I was going to say with kids, just made me think of it. Like they're older now. So when they're bathing, if I'm helping them, I'm always asking, is it okay if I do that? Are you okay with that? Because they do get to that age where they're kind of just like, I don't need you to do that for me anymore. So, and I don't want to be that parent that just kind of overtakes and I'm just like, well, I'm going to do it for you. And it's like, well, no, they need to be able to make that decision. Right. So it's just,
I mean, my 4-year-old asks, tells me that he needs privacy when he goes to the bathroom. I said, I want some privacy. I go to he's 4 years old.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Mommy will be right here if you need me, but like, I'm just, it's like a little parenting when I'm like, yeah, like that is a good thing. Like, like to your point of what you said, Courtney, about what your mom used to say to you, like, that's so fucking crazy. Like we're doing the opposite.
Absolutely. And like I said, I didn't even think about it until B brought it up. And I thought it just all of a sudden dawned on me. I was like, fuck, my mom used to say shit like that to me. Like when you were talking about your friends being like, well, why can't I hug you? I'm your friend.
Yeah.
Like I'm here to support you. So let me touch you, even though you don't want me to, because it makes me feel crappy if you don't want me to touch you. Not about you. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I just kind of go, well, like, do you want me to respect your boundaries? Then I need you to respect mine. And if you can't respect my boundaries, then I can't be around you.
Yep.
Like, given the different, like, because my whole life, if it got mapped out, it's been trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma. Toxic relationship, toxic relationship, toxic relationship, toxic relationship. And I think the last relationship I was in was a real game changer for me, because that is when I started reverting to the behaviors that were being dished out to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So relationships prior to this last one, I would talk calmly. I would not curse. I would not swear. I would not raise my hands. I would not fight back. I would just be like, hey, can we sit down and have a conversation? Hey, let's discuss this. They're the ones who chose to yell, scream, curse, call me down, violate me and be violent towards me. But this one, it was just kind of like, I already went through that shitstorm. I went through the court case. That guy got to walk free after trying to unalive me. all that shit happened, and now I'm in this, man, like, he was sweet, he was kind, he was definitely not my type, which sounds odd, but I guess I had a type, and he didn't seem to be the bad boy type. He seemed to be the good guy type, and he turned out to be the bad guy type. And once again, it's not to downplay abuse at all, but it was like milder. And there's no excuse. I want to clarify that. There's absolutely no fucking excuse for any form of abuse in a relationship. Mentally, emotionally, psychologically, verbally, sexually, physically, none of it.
And you mean from both sides? You're talking about from both parties?
Both sides, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. For me, it was when he was being passive aggressive, I dished out the passive aggressive back. But the other stuff that he did to me, I would not stoop to that level. I wouldn't allow myself to. But there was the road rage. I brought the road rage up. I was so terrified that I actually brought it up to other people who tried to intervene and step in to equip the vehicle and things like that to try and document some of this stuff, which he immediately removed. To the point where people are like, if he does that again, call us and we'll come and pick you up wherever we need to pick you up from. So that was terrifying. To the raising of the fist, the physical intimidation, mental, emotional, psychological abuse, the verbal abuse, and then like the dog whistling we had mentioned once before. So various different degrees of abuse that I went through. And then you sit back and, you know, myself, I asked myself, why the fuck am I putting myself through this shit? I do deserve better. And that's why I'm still single now after all these years, is I'm a work in progress trying to break that hamster wheel completely, so that I don't put myself in that same situation. Like I'm done with that. So part of that is trusting myself to make the right decisions, loving myself enough to go, no, I don't think I'm really ready yet. Maybe I'll test the waters, but I'm not really ready yet. And why is that? Because I'm actually terrified because of my fucking train wreck relationships, my train wreck of a life. Like, at 49, I go, do I want to waste any more years by making the wrong choice again?
Yeah.
Yep. That's fair.
I can understand that. Yeah. Because how many relationships? So, like, you had several,
3?
like, that were domestic.
4.
4. Did you have any in between those that were healthy? Yeah. So was it really consistent? And you were married and
very,
it was spread out over time. So you had 4 relationships that were physically abusive, and then taking you forward to today. Now you're single, and to your point that you're, don't want to waste any more time doing that. That you've made those choices, and I can understand that that's like a heavy thing to, because you of course want probably to have.
I would definitely, I do not. Like, there's a part of me that's resigned to being single for the rest of my life, and then there's that other part of me that's, so it's kind of like an even divide where, and then there's a part of me is like, I would love to have a healthy relationship, but I too also need to be much healthier than what I am now, so that I'm not coming in, and like I said, when we've all agreed to this healing process is lifelong. So this person is going to have to have patience and understanding and enough love to see past that garbage that I'm still battling through. And just be like, hey, babe, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. We'll get through this. You're raging today? Great. Yeah. What do you need? And if there's somebody who's experienced stuff like that too, I want to be able to extend that to them as well.
Yeah.
But there was something I was going to say in regards to that. Once again, that is that residual programming from my childhood. And I ended up in these relationships, whether it was a conscious choice or a subconscious choice or a combination of both. But that is where my accountability comes in, right? Every single one of those relationships, whether and people are going to probably balk at this, they were abusive. But what did I do to enable it or stop it? What did I do to contribute to it? Were there areas where I inadvertently contributed to it because of my programming?
Yep.
Or my reactions? So there's a certain level of accountability that I also have to take, and that's part of that internal cleansing process, is to dissect all of that and go, so what am I doing to enable these people to come into my world, and what am I doing to enable that behavior?
Yep.
And stop it, so that I won't put up with that anymore, and I won't feed into it, whether I'm doing it consciously or subconsciously.
Yep.
Is I do deserve better, way better than what I've been put through.
Exactly. And it is that accountability factor of being like, I'm also the problem and I'm the solution.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So where and when do I have to, because that for me was the hardest part in this journey, is owning my shit.
Yeah.
Because of the discomfort of sitting in that and being like, ugh, ew, you were gross. Like, you did yucky, shitty things, and having to own that, but then to be like, fuck, at least I don't live in some oblivious pile of bullshit about it.
Oh.
At least I can own it.
Exactly. And the other thing that's super important in that healing journey is, if you're somebody that's sitting there blaming the person or the people that abused you as a child for the way that you behave now as an adult, you are wrong. You are wrong. That is not holding yourself accountable. That's not even taking the right steps forward in your healing process. You're walking out of that situation, and you're walking out into that world. You've been through that shit. But if you're back there going, they fucking made me that way, and that's why I am the way I am. No, you're choosing not to change. You're choosing not to heal, and you're choosing to pour that bullshit out on everybody else.
Exactly.
And I know that's going to sting a lot of people hearing that truth.
It's true, though.
It is. And that's something that I said to my foster mom when she made that call to me. She's like, I don't understand. Everybody's fucking up their lives. What did we do wrong? And I said, you didn't do anything wrong. They're choosing to fuck up their own lives.
Yep.
They're adults. They can't keep going back here going, they did this to me. No, go inside.
That justifies my behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because my childhood was abusive, or because I experienced this over here, because I experienced this over here, this is why I deserve to be this way.
Yeah.
Or this is why I am this way. No.
100% I agree. And I'll just use myself as the example. That's the difference between myself and my mother. My mother, I know, went through a lot of shit. I don't know to the extent fully, but I know she had a very difficult upbringing, and she chose to hurt.
Yep.
And I had a difficult upbringing, and I'm choosing not to.
Absolutely.
And I'm taking the accountability to make the healthy, do the work, because it's fucking a lot of work. But
it is.
Like it's already, like very quickly you'll see how positive it is. And it's a very difficult journey, but it's so worth it. And taking that step to do what you need to do so that it ends.
Absolutely. And that's where I'm at. I need to end these cycles of abuse in my life and hold myself accountable where that brokenness is, and heal and fix that. Not just to be a better person for myself, but to be a better person for other people, and be a better person for whoever God has in store for me.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, I'm still going to blame these assholes over here because, no, it's you. It's you doing this shit. You're choosing to do this shit.
Yeah.
You can break those cycles. You can heal. It all starts with you.
Yeah. I have a really hard time with that. When you do come across those situations where people are like, the woe is me. Oh, and I mean, like, hey, to an extent, you're absolutely allowed to have a little bit of sympathy and pity for yourself. But it's supposed to be momentary. It's something that you go, you visit, and then you leave town. You don't stay there. You don't make this a place of living.
Absolutely.
Right? And you see that a lot. And it's really hard when you're trying to heal alongside people and be supportive to them, but they do not want to see their own accountability. It's always like, oh, well, this person did this and this happened to me and that happened to me. And, you know, all these horrible things happened to me. And, you know, I just can't get ahead of it. And I just blah, blah, blah. And you're like, fair, but what aren't you facing? Well, I'm facing everything, but you're not.
Right.
Yeah, because like, and it sounds, you know, like blunt, but it's like, okay, so what? You know, so what, you've been through that. So like, this is the end for you. Like, you just accept that this is your situation now, that you're not going to fucking try to improve the situation. Like, that's bullshit.
Exactly.
And
why are you expecting everyone to do that for you?
And
I can't fix
no
you.
one will. No one will
fix
do
your
it.
shit.
No one can.
I can barely fix my own shit. I can't fix your shit too.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So B, what have you found that has helped you in that process? You know, what sort of things are you implementing in your day-to-day in your life to sort of like that's keeping you on track?
A number of things. First off, my faith, which I don't hide. I have a relationship with God. That's important and integral. I've been working on that and building that up and strengthening that. Keeping the right people close, and continuing to clean up my life of the people that are not healthy for me, that have hindered me in my healing journey because they don't like the fact that I'm healing.
Yeah.
Being proactive, I guess, in studying, learning, growing, building the TikTok community that has now become so integrated with so many other platforms on TikTok has been mind-blowing. And I would say that sharing my story, hearing other people's stories, exchanging of that wisdom and that knowledge. I'm literally blown away at it's so weird to say this, but I have a hard time looking at myself in the mirror. I do. I can barely even look myself in the eyes. But yesterday, I was like, I'm going to do a little bit of self-care regime, which is important. Building up that trust within yourself, loving yourself, you got to have a self-care regime. And I'm like, all right, did all this girly stuff, you know, that you do in a shower, and I got out and I'm putting castor oil on my face, and I had to look myself in the eye. And I didn't recognize the woman in the mirror. I was kind of taken aback. I see where the weaknesses are, but at the same time, I saw a massive amount of strength that I didn't see there before.
Oh, I love where this went. I love how this just did a whole circle back to the first time seeing yourself in the mirror. That's so amazing.
I'm sorry. I just was like, last night I was like, holy fuck, who are you? And I was like, all of the breakthroughs that have happened since the beginning of this year, and being able to, I mean, it's scary fucking inside here. It's scary shit to go inside and have to pull out years of trauma and abuse and violence and all of that. But the beauty that comes with it and that healing journey and the things you discover about yourself and you learn about yourself, those are moments that are just so priceless that no one can take from you.
Exactly.
Ever. Because now you're at a point where I'm going to guard this at all costs.
Yep.
And that's part of that self-worth and self-esteem building. But I would definitely say that the community has been a huge thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're a big part of that. Well,
Huge
why I
driving
found it.
force.
I mean, between you and Ignited, that's where I kind of
found each other.
I was like the little bird. I was just like this little little bird that just kind of flew in and was like, oh,
Yeah.
look at
And for
these
anybody
mama
who's
birds in here taking care of everybody.
Yeah, for anybody who's listening, so we're referring to the lovely community that's been building on TikTok, particularly. We share all of these things across all of our social media platforms, but TikTok has been this beautiful collaboration of people from all over the world. Every day that we're connecting, we're meeting more and more people, and the three of us who are doing this episode today, along with many other people, and we'll put some social media handles down below to follow. But we're getting together. We're doing lives. We're doing different types of like meetups and stuff like that along the way in various forms, where people are just sharing their story and uplifting each other, sharing the wins, sharing the difficult times. And really leaning on each other for support, because what is so beautiful about this, and this is where, for me, it's been a little bit of it's been an interesting journey, because I don't trust people, which is, related to my past. And I'm seeing all these people be so vulnerable, including yourselves, and putting yourselves out there and really just authentically connecting and loving and showing support, like so much love, like an incredible amount of love, and people dedicating themselves and giving their time to people to help, like is just it's a different level of caring and support and love that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Because as people we don't physically know, that we've only seen through the screen of our phones.
Right.
And the love that comes through and the connections that are building, it's just a very powerful, beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah. And I do think that there's a big lesson in that too, like the lesson being that even though the people, sorry, that if you're wondering why I was making all these faces, I could hear a bunch of commotion downstairs and I didn't know what the hell it was. And it was my big kid. Because there's a storm, she got home from work. So anyways, nobody was breaking in. It's fine. But just that lesson of, just because you physically know someone for 10 years, or just because, you have what is deemed a normal connection, doesn't necessarily mean it's a genuine connection.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like the genuine connection.
Or that they're going to offer, or you guys are able to provide each other with some level of support or love that you're looking for. There's lots of different types of relationships.
Well, exactly. But I think a lot of people look at stuff like this and they're kind of like, okay, that's a little bit weird, right? But I think that's the universal lesson, is that's not, love is love, and it doesn't have boundaries. It is just what it is. And if it's felt and it's reciprocated, that's what makes it genuine.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's so beautiful. And
yes, it is.
Yeah, it does. It comes down to just love. And yeah, it's a very beautiful thing, like I said, to watch. And we can put some of our social media handles in the links, the show notes, to some of the people who we, can accredit some of this strength that we're feeling when we're in those difficult times. And yeah, I encourage anybody who is, certainly going through a difficult time to, find us and connect and, message. And fortunately we've had people been, who have been doing that, which we hope that we're making a positive impact, and we hope that there's some messages, that we can share along the way, and some words of wisdom, little nuggets along the way that, if anything, it's really just about the support and knowing that you're not alone more than anything. And, if you can learn something along the way, that's great. Obviously,
we're not here
you
to
can
fix
find
you.
us at the Got Trauma podcast, but we'll make sure that some other people, including B, like her information is linked below. I definitely encourage everybody to check it out. This has been a beautiful episode.
I'm going to have to go look at myself in the mirror again.
Oh, you look beautiful. That was amazing, B, though. Honestly, just watching that whole turnaround that blew my mind. I was like, whoa, that's crazy.
I went to bed kind of going, what the hell just happened? And then I had a fucked up dream. And then I woke up this morning and I was like, I'm loving myself more and more with every passing day, every passing week, and I need to really start learning this person that's emerging instead of fearing her. I need to embrace her and love her. And she's fucking powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she is.
And that's all there. That's all in every one of us, whether we're a man or a woman. And you're right, with this community, there is a whole lot of support and love and understanding and validation, because every single one of us, to one degree or another, had our worlds ripped apart.
Yeah.
And abuse on any level, whether you've experienced the full gamut or not, is still abuse. And no one, whether you're a man or a woman or a child, no matter your age, should never, ever experience abuse in your life. It's just not called.
No,
we're
not meant to.
Yeah,
we're not meant to. Not to the degree that it goes around. Like, there's shit that happens in life that you can't control, but some of this stuff is absolutely fucking asinine. Like, there's no way of even fathoming or understanding why these fucking things exist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you're trying to wrap up.
No,
I'm totally gapping. I'm not gapping out. I've got so many things swirling around in my brain right now. I'm like,
well, for anybody who's looking for some resources, we'll make sure that we put some, some information, because I think that's really important to, if anyone's dealing with some difficult times, that there is options out there. We're suggesting follow us, find us. Yep. We're open and approachable. Like, join the lives, follow some of the other people we're mentioning, because, the great thing about the community is everyone's coming from different aspects. Like you said, like everyone's got their own sort of, they've all had their own issues and their own journey. And there's one of the reasons why we won't bring people on is because we're not the only ones who have a perspective. Other people do as well. And it's important. Yeah. It's important. We want to relate to people and provide value that way. Right. So, this was a super cool episode, and it's always a pleasure to watch you go through this and you're uncandid, or you're apologetically, opening up, and I love it so much. And thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's very inspiring. Very, very inspiring.
Thank you. I'm just me.
Man, but that's good. You're an awesome you, and you're the best version.
You're gonna make me cry again.
Well, I mean, you're becoming the best version of yourself, right? And you're acknowledging all the things, and you're doing the work, and you're, and you're also helping other people, and you're giving that hope, and you're also keeping some for yourself. And I think that's really important, that we have to balance it that way, right? Because we are important too, and we need to be the best versions of ourselves.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I still haven't. I'm not used to the heart thing. Like, do you like have binoculars? Awkward. Heart. No, that's an apple. Fuck, I don't know.
That's a tomato.
Was it? I don't know. It's a pair of boobs. Nope, that's a heart. There we go.
Oh, it's a bum. Oh, it's a peach.
Holy lifting.
Well, if you've made it to this length of the episode, then we thank you. And hopefully you got a little giggle. Thank you, ladies. Again, this was wonderful. Let's wrap it up there, and we will catch everybody in the next episode.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Bye,
ladies. Till next time. Chat later.
Sounds good.
Blessings to all.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to hit those subscribe and share buttons. We'll see you at the next one.